You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
We've made it. There are 4 days left, and that means it's time for one thing. Oh, what did you open?
Oh, my customary strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper Zero.
I've got a key lime LaCroix here, so we're living wild tonight. I really like the key lime because it tastes a lot like a lime Skittles. Which is good. It's a good vibe. Ready to talk some football?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. The thing's wigging out, so give me 1 second.
Okay. I'll just enjoy my beverage.
There we go.
There he is.
Well, I
He's
don't know
back.
if all that was captured in the recording. I doubt it. But just a minor blip. It had to happen tonight, of course.
I know. I mean, the first week, there's a lot of things that can go wrong.
So, I was just saying it was my customary strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper Zero, and then you said, "Click buzz gone." Fill in the blank. So, what are you partaking in?
Key lime LaCroix. That's what I have.
Key lime LaCroix. Well, here we go. We got to stay locked in because we have a week 1 preview. There were games this weekend, Michael. Week 0. Surprisingly entertaining slate of games.
Yeah.
Question mark? No, it was good.
From top to bottom, really.
I watched parts of all 4 of them. Majority, I was able to watch the majority of the Florida State game. I probably watched the least of the New Mexico game, which I guess is kind of good. I mean, you were home dog to an FCS squad and lost. That's rough.
Blew a lead. I forgot what it was.
Yeah,
Montana State scored 21 points in the 4th or something crazy like that.
Watched SMU struggle with Nevada. SMU definitely not winning the ACC this year.
Got the
Michael,
win. It was a gutsy road win, Spencer. I mean, that's
sure.
That's what you got to do. Gutsy road win. Week
Weren't
0.
They like 30-point favorites?
Very close. Very close.
Everybody, all the underdogs covered. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
So if you had the underdogs, whether it was not money line. If you had Georgia Tech, obviously I think they were 10-point dogs at kickoff.
I think so too. 10.5, 11.
Yeah, when you win that game, I mean, obviously. There was no 40-point victory in Hawaii. There was no 30-point victory in Reno. Montana State won. But I guess they were picked to win. So maybe New Mexico didn't cover. But anywho's, love that college football's back. Love that we get to talk actual Texas Tech football this week. Tonight, we're talking about a Texas Tech football game that is being played in 4 days. We have a quick soccer update tonight. We will get to a more full in-depth. I wouldn't say in-depth. Well, we have a few more thoughts for week 0 really quickly before we move into our week 1 prep. There was a press conference yesterday, Monday. I'm sure you all know it by now. We're going to go through the depth chart. Maybe one of the only times we get a depth chart. But I don't know. We'll see. Do you know there's an injury report that we'll get to touch on? An availability report. Last few preseason things to touch on. PFF came out with their preseason Big 12 quarterback rankings, and I have a chip on my shoulder. What is that? when I have it for somebody else. Proxy? No. Anyways, I have a proxy chip on my shoulder for Baron Morton, because that's ridiculous. And then we'll talk about the ACU Wildcats. It is game one. It is FCS. They are replacing not replacing. They have a huge influx of new players. They have a new offensive coordinator. We can talk about what he looked like before and what they did. But what the offense is going to look like and what how they're going to perform, yet to be seen. That's what happens when you do game one. All of that. We won't have yardage averages to compare. All the fun things that we have in our normal preview. But week one is going to be different. So, Michael, let's do then we'll have a whip around the Big 12. We could look at the rest of the Big 12 schedule.
Yeah, it's a packed episode.
Questions, things. We've got 4 things, and what did we learn? 3 of them food related, which, I mean, what else would you expect?
I know, and I think I'm going to delete the one that isn't. So they're all food related now.
You texted me a teaser that you wanted to change game predictions. I don't know if that was Big 12 game predictions, if it was Texas Tech. We'll get there where it fits tonight.
Okay.
But let's jump into soccer update. We talked last week. They had 2 games coming up, 2 opportunities to get right, and they went 1-1. They demolished St. Bonaventure last Thursday 5-0, and then made the trek out to beautiful Logan, Utah, but got blanked 2-0 to the Utah State Aggies.
I did get to watch a decent amount of that on Sunday, and you're not kidding. That was a beautiful place to play soccer. I don't know if they even had stands. I think most people were sitting on beautiful grass mounds around the stadium, but the mountains in the background, Spencer. Gorgeous. A gorgeous place to go and lose 2-0. Unfortunately, they got those 2 goals pretty early on, I think in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then the Red Raiders just never were able to. I know they had about the same shots on goal as Utah State did, but obviously weren't able to have any production from it. So it's a little worrisome that they've, their 2 wins, they've blanked people, and their 2 losses, they have been unable to score on the road. So a lot of soccer left to be played, and why not start right now? So Thursday, August 29th, Weber State's coming to town, 7 p.m. The last I checked, there wasn't a channel for this on the schedule. I don't know why sometimes the schedule takes a while to update, but I'm fairly certain it'll be on ESPN Plus. That's just kind of been the common channel there. And then Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m., another home game hosting Oral Roberts. You've got a 3-day weekend. We might see if we can get out there. I've got that on our family calendar of, hey, if it makes sense, if we're up for it and it's not 103 degrees, and it doesn't look like it will be this Sunday. We'll get to weather report later.
If you're peeking ahead.
So Sunday might be a great day to go to the John Walker Complex, watch some soccer, cheer on the Red Raiders. And as always, listen to Seeing Scarlet for a lot more in-depth analysis and coverage, including interviews with players, coaches, and everything else.
Yep. Let's talk week 0. There were 4 games, Michael. I watched as much of the Georgia Tech Florida State game as humanly possible. I think I missed actually most of the first quarter, but I watched the rest of it. I definitely watched all of the second half, and I definitely caught. It was a very entertaining fourth quarter.
Yes.
initial impressions were I was not expecting Georgia Tech to be all that competitive. Not only was that wrong, they were. I wouldn't say dominant, but I expected Florida State to have control of things, especially along the offense and defensive lines. And Georgia Tech absolutely manhandled Florida State, especially when Georgia Tech had the ball. They used to do whatever the heck they wanted to on the ground.
Well, it seems like both teams, because the way I watched this game, Spencer, it was kind of weird. I didn't get to watch it live, but I kept up with it on my Score app and was really interested in it. And then Sunday night, I'm just sitting around and no one's watching the TV in the living room. And lo and behold, they're replaying the whole thing on the ACC network. And so it was
It's a conference
great.
game.
Yeah. So I got to watch the game on a delay, like a 36-hour delay, kind of knowing what was going to happen, but not having been able to watch it myself. And I'm with you, man. I did not expect Georgia Tech to dominate like they did. I mean, their quarterback threw 16 passes.
Which is, historically for Georgia Tech, not all that out of the ordinary. But they dumped their triple option offense a couple of years ago. Good old Longview alum Haynes King out there running the show, hitting just absolute dots on like third down. Like that Florida State third down defense reminded me a lot of like really bad Tech defenses from a few years ago. It's like there was no hope of getting a stop on third down. And that's not fair to Florida State because it took like they were like third and medium to third and longs that Georgia Tech just continued to find ways to convert. And it wasn't like they ran power and just blew over everybody. Like it was they found a hole in the defense with a breakdown in coverage or just fantastic play call or a scramble here. It worked out for Georgia Tech, but it was like definitely felt the momentum in their favor. And that last, I think, was like a 6-minute drive just to
Yeah.
ice it. It's like,
Yeah.
it was just inevitable. And just a sense of pride. Like, hey, that was actually a really cool experience. Like for those Irish natives, checking out the game. I was like, what a fantastic game, like entertaining game just to watch for us Americans. But two is like, if that was their first taste of college football, man, it's not much better you could have asked for.
Yeah, and it's not like none of it was bad football. It was good competitive football. Like you said, the line of scrimmage just kind of decided the game for the entire run of it. And what really just got me was like we talked about before, I thought the time of possession, just the way I saw Georgia Tech dominate, I thought they were going to have such a commanding lead in that category, and they really didn't. It was like 1 minute, but that's because Florida State was doing the same thing. They had 4-minute drives, 5-minute drives, and then Georgia Tech's over here with an 8-minute drive, a 6-minute. Florida State had an 8:24. I mean, both of these teams
I think each team
just held on.
Yeah. I think each team had like one long scoring drive in the fourth quarter. Like the fourth quarter went by quick because I think each team held the ball for about half the quarter.
Yeah.
But when that happens, team with the ball last typically wins. So
Yeah, and that's how that worked out with a walk-off field goal in Dublin, Ireland, on kind of a drizzly night, which seemed perfect.
Yeah.
It was really, it was one of those things that I've thought this too. I remember watching the Notre Dame game last year and truly thinking, man, if there was ever a time, if Tech ever did that, I think I might try to figure out how to go.
It's quite
I
the
would
trip.
maybe take out a loan. Maybe take out a loan or something. Might sell a vehicle. I don't know. A kidney.
I
But
sold a vehicle today.
it might be cheaper to go there than to sit in the south end zone.
Perhaps. I did
I
see
think the jury's still out.
they were $50 tickets for this week, and I was like, y'all realize it's still Abilene Christian. It's ACU, right? You're trying to get $50 a pop for ACU.
I saw someone or my wife sent it to me.
Good luck.
Someone was sending row 4 seats of the south end zone, $1,200 for 4 seats.
But those are club seats, though, right? Like they're no like normal
Said it
GA
came
type.
with food. Yeah. It
Well,
came
there you
with.
go. But $1,200 for 4.
They said free food, and I'm thinking, oh no, nothing about that is
No,
free.
that
If
sir is
I'm,
baked into the price of
yeah,
admission.
if I'm sitting in a seat that costs $300, that food is not free.
Yeah. I watched maybe just a couple minutes of Montana State, New Mexico. New Mexico did cover. They were picked to lose by 11, which is huge home dog to FCS. Montana State did come back to win 35-31. You mentioned New Mexico had a lead for a while.
Yeah, I did
But
double check. Montana State scored 21
in the fourth,
unanswered in the fourth. Yeah, they 21-0.
I did watch a fair amount of the SMU Nevada game in Reno. SMU was a 4-touchdown favorite, and then ends up, I believe they had to come from behind. I think they had to overcome a deficit
Yes.
as well. I know it was at least back and forth for a while. Came back for a 5-point win. Michael, watching that game, if SMU was on my schedule, I'd be like, their quarterback is ripe to turn the ball over nonstop.
Oh, first play from scrimmage. I think SMU forced.
Sorry, I'm thinking about somebody else. But yeah, I mean, same, but like the Hawaii quarterback was worse.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just
but
saying.
SMU, yeah.
SMU's first play from scrimmage on offense was an interception. They forced a 3-and-out and then came out after the punt and immediately threw the ball away. So, yeah, that would be terrible. That's a terrible way to start. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they were down. Let's see, they were down 24-13 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and then SMU goes on to score 16 unanswered in the fourth. So they definitely had to.
They're figuring things out, Michael. They're on the road. It was watching the game. I was like, okay, wait, Reno's in the desert, right? Like we're talking about Nevada. Reno, Nevada is in the desert.
It was all cloudy, and
I saw people wearing
gloomy.
like heavy jackets. It's like, is this a recorded game from last year? Like, am I on the wrong stream? I got into the weather. I was like, no, it's 55 degrees in Reno, Nevada in August. I was like, didn't expect that.
No, I thought that was bizarre too.
And then I watched a little bit of the Hawaii game. I downloaded some random app that I guess Hawaii streams their games on, just to watch it. I watched a little bit of it. Hawaii quarterback is the one I was thinking about. Oh my gosh, he's terrible. Like I don't want to dog on the kid, but like Delaware State had some issues in coverage. Their DBs were just falling all over the place, which is like, what are you doing? Why is your butt on the ground? Hawaii gets this receiver wide open, running free. Quarterback sees it, unloads. The receiver had to stop his route and come back. And even that was barely enough. Like he ended up falling, the receiver falling, coming back towards the ball. And he fell out of the end zone back into the field of play to catch the ball. It's like, you had an easy touchdown, but he so badly underthrew the ball that the receiver fell inside the one to catch the ball. It's like, what? And then there was another play. It was like a screen, like he was thrown out towards the sideline. And you would have thought with the way that he just drilled the ball into the turf at the receiver's feet that like there were people bearing down on the receiver or the quarterback was under pressure. He was open. Quarterback was just standing there all the time in the world. Could have struck oil with that throw, man. Just the receiver put his hands up like, what are you doing? Anyways, Hawaii was a 39-point favorite, wins 35-14. So again, you come out with a win, and Delaware State, I think everybody on their team made it out to Hawaii after their travel issues, but everybody,
I think so too. I think
every
some of them
underdog
took the bus.
they're still working on it. Every underdog covered this weekend. Can't say that's going to happen this next weekend. All right, week 0 in the books. About as entertaining as you could have asked, especially with this slate of games. You're just like, there's one marquee matchup, and it was good. The other
Yeah.
games were closer than I would have expected. Back and forth affairs.
Some come behind heroics.
Yeah.
Come from behind.
Get your mind in the gutter, Michael. This is a Texas Tech football podcast.
I was just correcting myself. You're the one that made it weird.
But here we are, game 1, prep for ACU. Let's start with the depth chart, Michael.
Before that, we have a comment on the YouTube from Haley saying it's going to be a great season, guys.
Oh,
I
for
like
sure.
it. I like the enthusiasm. I like the positivity. I like the confidence. Let's dive in. Let's go in with that attitude, Spencer.
I'm going to pin that comment. Here we go. All right. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. You tell me if there were any surprises or things that shocked you. Shock is probably strong. Eyebrow raises, maybe, like, or furrowed brows. Quarterback, Baron Morton, Cameron Brown. I think both of those were absolutely expected. Running back, Taj Brooks, Cameron Valdez, Cameron Dickey. No
Good so
surprises
far.
there. Z receiver. So outside, I believe on the left, Josh Kelly, Kelby Valson. Eyebrow raised there because I was like, I thought Josh Kelly was going to be on the inside. Y receiver, inside receiver, Caleb Douglas, Micah Hudson. I thought Caleb Douglas was an outside receiver.
Well, not just. I kind of thought. I thought Micah Hudson was an outside receiver.
I thought Hudson was inside, and I thought he and Kelly were going to be switching off.
Okay.
Caleb Douglas is going to be because I think Josh Kelly's what, like 6 foot, 6'1"?
I'd have to check.
Fairly thin, whereas Caleb Douglas is like 6'4". Micah Hudson's also like 6 foot, maybe. Anyways, so I thought it was interesting that Josh Kelly and Caleb Douglas were kind of flipped from what I would have expected them to be. And maybe it has to do with like the personnel packages, like you want Josh Kelly on the field more, and maybe the wide receiver gets subbed off more often. And you need Kelly on the field more than Douglas, so you put him out there because you just need him on there. H, the other inside receiver, the one that probably see the least of, honestly, with as much of tight end play that we'll see. But H, Dre McCray and Jordan Brown. Would love to see some Dre McCray.
Yes.
But I think that position is going to be splitting time with tight ends. And the other outside receiver, X, Coy Aiken and Brady Boyd.
Do you know if X is on the left side?
I think it's the right.
Oh, okay. I just remember Aiken.
I think alphabetical is X, Y, Z.
The left.
But you're right.
Okay.
I think Aiken was on the left last year.
Yeah. So as far as you're the quarterback in the line of scrimmage, I think Aiken would be to your left.
Yes, and Josh Kelly
was
on the
last
right.
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tight end, Mason Tharp, Jalen Conyers, or John Carlos Miller.
This is the eyebrow raise for me so far. Really the only one. I'm kind of surprised that it's. I'm impressed with Tharp then, really. I mean, I've always liked him. I think he's got great hands. I'd love to see him get the ball a lot more than he does. but Conyers seemed like kind of a shoe-in to come in and possibly take over. So, you know, I'm impressed that Tharp has managed to hold on to the starting position, but kind of seeing, I still expected maybe an or there. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised that Conyers is a clear second stringer right now, starting the season at least.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw that video podcast that Baron Morton did with I'm blanking on the name of it now, but he was really high on John Carlos Miller,
Mm.
and he quoted his stat line or whatever from last year where he had like the highest yards after reception. It's like 20 something yards
Oh wow,
after the reception. I was like, that dude can
bruising
move with
down
the
the
ball.
field.
Yeah. All right, offensive line. This is where everything falls apart for me, and I have so many concerns. Okay, left tackle Sterling Porche, Dalton Merriman. Porche, we'd heard, had missed some time because of injury, and Dalton Merriman was getting some run there during practice. Sounds like he's back. If your left tackle is going to be held down by Porche, you would think that like he's made a good step forward. Typically, you see it from high school and junior college, and even like stepping up from Group of Five or FCS up to FBS Division One type stuff, Power Four. It takes some time to adjust. So seeing him starting left tackle, eyebrow raise for me. Vinny Scurry, I think, is not a surprise at left guard, backed up by Dylan Shaw or Holton Hendricks. Center, Sheridan Wilson, backed up by Caleb Rodkey. Again, that was one that we had heard was kind of locked in for a while, same as Scurry. Right guard, Davian Carter or Caleb Rogers, then Daniel Sill. Right tackle, Caleb Rogers or Ty Buchanan.
Not a fan of that.
I don't like how there are three guys covering four spots.
Yeah, that's a lot of ors.
I get that you're basically saying Caleb Rogers will be a starter, and it will just kind of depend on, is it Davion Carter or Ty Buchanan that gets bumped off the field? You know, so if Ty Buchanan takes a starting spot, it'll be right tackle. So Rogers would be in there at right guard. If Carter is in there, then it bumps Rogers out to the tackle. But I don't love that they're still tinkering with this. One of the things that Joey McGuire said in his press conference says we're gonna be working on it. We're gonna be figuring things out. It says it's still to be determined how that's going to shake out. I don't love that.
No, and I understand it with it being week one against an FCS opponent that you kind of have that luxury of being able to work it out and say that. It doesn't instill a lot of confidence, but that's something hopefully we'll see play out in front of us, that they will discover what they need to do or how well this is working or not, and have it all shored up before they go to Pullman. But it's still not the best thing you want to hear leading into your first game is, yeah, we're not really set on the line on the offensive line. We're just kind of, you know, that right side. I don't know. Just we'll see. Just see how it goes.
To be fair, you've got a great opportunity in game to figure this out against ACU.
Yep.
Because if you were going up, you know, Wyoming or Washington State, you'd want that to be locked in.
Yeah.
All right. Defense. Let's flip over. Nose tackle, Quincy Ledet. We do have a availability report, Michael, that says Ledet is questionable. So he may not be able to go, or he may be limited. Behind him, DeBraylon Carroll, which is the transfer from Rice, and then James Hansen. Next to that group, defensive tackle due to Banks, Jaden Cofield, or Trevon McAlpine. Thoughts there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No.
I'm good.
At one defensive end spot, you've got Harvey Dyson III, Isaac Smith, and then Ansel Nador. I think Dyson making a name for himself and getting into that starting rotation is a surprise because we'd all known and seen what Isaac Smith was able to do at the end of the season 2 years ago before he got hurt, and we expected a big step up. So Dyson's apparently had himself quite the camp. The other defensive end position, starter Amir Washington, surprise, but not a surprise to me because of what he did in the bowl game. Backed up by Joseph Adedire and Sam Carroll.
Yeah, kind of interesting to see a data ray on the second string, but like you said, I think it does make sense, and I think that's a good sign to have a
Yeah.
player like that backing up, or
Mhm.
being able to rotate in.
Yeah, I was gonna say what we saw from Amir Washington. It's hard to keep him off the field, and then Adedire being his backup. Like we know, like he's
Yeah.
he's pretty dang good. So
Yeah,
if Washington's not cutting it, Adedire's there, or just the fact you got two of those guys together is gonna be great. Middle linebackers, your Will and Mike. Absolutely no surprise here. Will, Jacob Rodriguez, backed up by Bryce Ramirez, and then Mike, Ben Roberts, John Curry.
that's a solid group. I feel the best about that group.
Yeah, and I can't remember who DeRuiter said was going to have the green dot, the microphone, not the microphone, the speaker in his helmet.
Oh, the helmet. Yeah.
I believe it's Rodriguez, but either way, that group is just it's fantastic. I'm most confident in the middle linebackers or inside linebackers. Defensive back, star AJ McCarty or BJ Jordan. I think we've heard they were going back and forth competing. We knew AJ McCarty was basically starter ready last season before he was ruled ineligible. BJ Jordan has been here. He's contributed some. I think they both do things a little bit differently. Their skill sets. I think you'll see a lot of both of them. So there's that. Cornerback, Braylon Lux, backed up by Jalen Peoples. We'd heard Braylon Lux was basically going to be a starter. The other cornerback is Mo Horn, backed up by Devin Cromwell. Thoughts or surprises there?
I'm good.
All right, safety. Chapman Lewis, Jordan Sanford. And the strong safety position, CJ Baskerville, Joseph Plunk. I think Plunk is the eye raiser for me as a former walk-on. If that's your depth and no like offense and like I don't mean to be harsh on Joseph Plunk. It's possible that you could have a guy, rise up from the walk-on spot and contribute meaningfully to a team. I think I've just been burned enough to think that's a spot where you're pretty thin depth wise. But the guy in front of him, I love what CJ Baskerville brings. I just would hate to think like if Plunk was a former walk-on, that's the backup. They don't love that.
Right. I think I'm sure the intent there is for Baskerville to be out on the field pretty much every snap, if at all possible. So obviously they will have to substitute in here and there, but there's a lot riding on his health and his conditioning, and a lot of things in one of the most important positions on the defense.
Yeah. Special teams. Punter Jack Burgess, not a surprise. The transfer from Weaver State, the Aussie kicker. Your starting kicker, Gino Garcia, although it has an or for Reese Burkhart, but I think what we've heard is Garcia. Well, McGuire said it. Garcia is going to be the first guy out there. um, to attempt any field goals or kicks. Long snapper Jackson Knotts, your kickoff guy. So Gino Garcia will do field goals. Reese Burkhart will do kickoff. Holder Jack Burgess or Baron Morton, which I thought was so interesting.
Mhm.
Not you've seen quarterbacks do that, but your kick returner Dre McRae, Jordan Brown. Forgot how good of a returner McRae was last year. Had a handful over 50. He had a 100-yard touchdown return against Houston. I love that punt return. Josh Kelly out there first. Jordan Brown, Micah Hudson.
Micah Hudson's interesting. That's the eye raiser for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's capable and excellent at it, but I'm still just kind of surprised that he might get thrown out there. Well, he will be, I'd imagine. He'll be out there at some point. But who knows? I don't know if they'll kick to him or what, but I'm a little surprised that they made that decision. Maybe it's because he's a freshman, you think? You think if he was a sophomore or a junior, they'd be like, yeah, we don't want you back there returning punts. We don't want you to get hurt.
I think it may have to do with like he may not with the rotation of the guys on the field in offense. They want to give him the opportunity to touch the ball more, but he's also listed third, so he may not even get on the field as a punt returner.
It's true, yeah.
So, all right. We touched on it a little bit as we went through the defensive depth chart. McGuire is going to be doing an availability report going into the week. You've got two guys listed as definitely out. Outside linebacker Charles Esters. We'd heard he had done really well. And Javion Wilcox, defensive back. And then questionable, we said this earlier, Quincy Ledette. I think your defensive tackles, though, are a group that's so deep. You were planning on rotating a bunch anyways. You hate to miss Ledette, but again, if it's a minor, I don't think we heard the nature of it and what the timeline would be. But if he's listed as questionable, even if he can't go this week, it is ACU. So he is a starter, but you hope to get him back soon. I didn't have anything earth shattering or really all that eye catching from McGuire or from Kitley in the press conference Monday. Did you catch anything that you wanted to touch on?
No, and I mean, really, the only thing that I've consumed that much lately, I did binge watch The Brand over the last night actually. So Monday night, I just sat down, had a bowl of ice cream,
There you go.
and binge watched The Brand. So that was a lot of fun. I didn't discover a whole lot, or it's what you would expect with a show like that, just kind of being positive and nothing too specific, and it's fine. It's great. So I didn't learn a lot from that, but it did just make me more excited for the season and make me feel like, maybe they will turn a corner this year. I don't know, but I also know that that's what those videos are engineered to do. So I'm trying to be careful with that. So that's really all I did is I watched that. I did appreciate they had some team bonding thing they did where they were doing a lot of stuff, and it had something to do with an inflatable raft, and they were out on the water somewhere and just doing all this kind of stuff that the teammates were obviously into and being encouraging. So I think that was one of the great things to watch, was just the coaches interacting with the players, hearing a little bit more about Blanchard and how he kind of has just free reign. If he wants to make an offer, he makes the offer, and then he tells Coach McGuire later, "Hey, we made an offer." McGuire's like, "All right, sounds great." So that may have been some stuff people knew already, but I didn't. And he's doing a great job, so keep it up. But I don't have much else on our team. I mean, I think there's a lot of unknowns that we'll start to kind of figure out as we watch. on Saturday. But I mean, I may be ready to roll over onto the ACU Wildcats. What about you?
Yeah.
Oh wait, well you do have a beef though. You have a QB ranking beef.
I do. Because the thing I picked up from DeRuiter's comments, we'll just roll into the preview. Because he was talking about his prep for the offense of ACU. The other thing he said, and it's been touched on by a few different people, is how deep the defense is. That he's preparing to play 20 to 25 guys on defense, which is a ton of bodies.
That's great. If everyone's on the same page, that is fantastic.
Yeah. So, beef here. PFF released. I mean, this is from Dalton Wasserman. I don't even know who this person is. PFF preseason Big 12 quarterback rankings. I did no deep dive to figure out what all went into this. Ranked all 16 Big 12 quarterbacks, and our man Baron Morton came in 14th.
And you take issue with this?
I mean, I wasn't surprised he wasn't first. But I started going on this list. I was like, all right, there's a very, he's got Avery Johnson 10th.
Yes.
That feels awfully low. Garrett Green 3rd, awfully high. Shadur Sanders at 1. I could kind of see that. Noah Fafita from Arizona 2nd. Garrett Green, Jalen Daniels, KJ Jefferson, Cam Rising, Rocco Becht. Okay, so if it were me, Avery Johnson would not, he wouldn't be 10th. He'd be up there 7th, the lowest. Morton would be up there 8th. He's definitely better than Donovan Smith. That's the reason why Donovan Smith has not had Texas Tech.
That's I do find that really interesting, but I think Donovan Smith's too high.
Oh, for sure. Alan Bowman too high.
Yes.
At 9. DeQuan Finn at Baylor. I don't know what he's going to do. Josh Hoover 12.
Yeah, KJ Jefferson. You have no idea what he's going to do either at UCF, but he's number 5.
I mean, I think there's a lot of trust there in believing he fits what Malzahn wants to do. And people start making the Cam Newton comparisons, oh my gosh, he's going to be fantastic. You don't know what that's going to be. Brendan Sorsby at Cincinnati at 13. Then you get to Baron Morton at 14. Sam Levitt, ACU, Arizona State. And then Jake Retzlaff at BYU, dead last.
Another interesting thing here, Cam Rising, who was apparently one of the missing pieces that kept Utah out of the college football playoff last year, depending on who you ask, is ranked 6th. Yeah, I do take issue with this list, but okay, bear with me. Not pun not intended. So I looked up where Baron Morton fell last year among the other Big 12 quarterbacks. And it's not good, Spencer. So I know he only played 10 games. He was battling injuries. The line was a little bit shaky, but so what? Everyone else had their stuff going on too. So grain of salt, I'm trying to look at the stats that are just comparable because he did not have as many games. Some of these guys played 12, 13, 14 games. I can't imagine having a quarterback play 12 games or 13. That just sounds insane to me. So congratulations, all of you who did. But Baron Morton was number 12 in a lot of things. Maybe not a lot of things. So he threw for 15 touchdowns. Granted, played only 10 games, but that ties for the lowest with a few other players. His longest play was 49 yards. That's the shortest in the entire Big 12. His average, 175 yards per game, lowest in the Big 12. Efficiency, 123.9, second to lowest in the Big 12, only to Alan Bowman who had 123 flat. Touchdown interception ratio, pretty rough. 8 interceptions to 15 touchdowns. Now, granted, Donovan Smith had 13 interceptions, but he also had 22 touchdowns. So it kind of evened out a little bit. Bowman, who is ranked way above Morton on this list, had 14 interceptions to 15 touchdowns. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah, and this article I'm reading on PFF touts him as like he's complimentary to Ollie Gordon. He's a game manager. He had a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception. Like, that's not a game manager. That's terrible.
Right. But I don't know how Bowman's up here so high. He just had more yards per game. He had 247 yards per game last year at Oklahoma State, which sounds crazy to me. And the Texas Tech quarterback had 175. So I kind of get it, because if you came in and looked at this stat sheet and that's all you did was look at that, which that may have been what these guys did, there's not a lot to pull from it that would make you think, oh, well, Morton's obviously he's in the top half of the conference, possibly top 5. We may see that. We may think that. We see the potential, but the production has not been there. And hopefully that will change this year with a healthy year, being the full-time starter from day one, from spring camp, where it was announced kind of dubiously. But I'm just kind of pouring a little water on your fire there, just a little bit, to see why someone might kind of come in and go, well, I don't know. But yes, I don't know if he should be ranked below Smith or Bowman. That's for sure.
Yeah. So some of the names ahead of Bowman on this list, or not Bowman, ahead of Morton on this list, just Cade McNamara in Iowa, Tyler Shuck. You got 2 guys that Morton forced out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my beef. And maybe Morton will be more of a game manager. Maybe his completion percentage will go down a little bit further, because it's going to be hand the ball off to Taj and take deep shots to Josh Kelly and to Caleb Douglas and Dre McRae. So we'll see. And that campaign will start this Saturday, Michael, 6:30. Lubbock,
right.
Texas, ESPN Plus for those not in the building. Texas Tech hosting Abilene Christian University Wildcats. Obviously, no SP Plus ranking for ACU, but Texas Tech checks in at number 41. You want to drop the weather tidbit here? Or you want to hold on to it for a second?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's drop some weather.
As of this recording, the forecast for Saturday no longer has rain. Well, it actually does. High of 80, 81. The chance of rain peaks at 6 to 7 at 55%. So you may get a little bit of a delay here, maybe. You may get a lot of Taj Brooks at the beginning of the game if there is precipitation coming down. But if you're heading to the game, you can look at it one of 2 ways. It's going to be not 105 degrees in August for game 1, which you'll take. And you may get a little extra time in the stadium if there's going to be a little bit of a delay. So weather is, I mean, I'm not going to complain about a little bit of rain. So
no, I was that guy that I've been looking at this August 31st date for the last year, thinking, my gosh, it may be 106 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this Saturday or last Saturday or Friday or whatever it was.
Yeah, this past week has been miserable.
Yeah, so big difference that a week makes, and very fortunate that it landed on the day that Texas Tech is kicking off at 6:30.
Yeah. So, um, Abilene Christian, ACU. Michael, do they like to be called Abilene Christian or is it ACU? And if they prefer to be called ACU, should we call them Abilene Christian?
I, you know what's weird is I've seen when I see the score bug, sometimes it just says Abilene. So I'm not really sure. I think they probably ACU. I bet you that's what they prefer. But I don't remember. I remember growing up, it was, yeah, pretty much ACU.
Okay. Well, Abilene Christian, led by head man Keith Patterson. Obviously, we all remember Coach Patterson as the defensive coordinator here at Texas Tech. He's now in his third season. Previous 2 years, he's gone 12-10. Um, let's see, where'd I have it? Last year he went 5-6. So the year before that went 7-4. Last year they notched wins against Northern Colorado, at Prairie View A&M, North Alabama, SFA, and Utah Tech. Losses were to number 9 Incarnate Word, at Central Arkansas, at North Texas. It was a close 14-point game there in Denton. At Southern Utah, they lost a 1-point game at home to Tarleton, and then 38-10 in College Station to Texas A&M. Closer than you probably would have expected there. Their roster made up by a bunch of guys that didn't start their college career at ACU, which is not a surprise when you look at the pedigree or prestige of a university like that. 50 guys currently on their roster started their career elsewhere, whether it was a D5, group of 5, JUCO, whatever. Have landed at ACU. That will now include 7 former Red Raiders playing for the Wildcats. Most notably, starting quarterback, graduate student Maverick McIver. Then a handful of guys that you should remember, and a couple of guys I didn't even know they were at Texas Tech. But wide receiver Hut Graham, wide receiver Trey Cleveland, who is, I wouldn't say bounce back, but he's there via North Texas, was there most recently. Nehemiah Martinez, punter Grant Nickel, offensive lineman Tay Yanta. I think he may have been a defensive lineman here at Texas Tech. And then tight end Jed Castles. So those were the guys I recognize on their roster, whether it was listed as a previous stop or guys that I knew their names at Texas Tech. But 7 former Red Raiders playing for ACU. So let's start with Maverick. We talked about him, starting quarterback, graduate student, 6'2", 210, started all 11 games for the Wildcats last year, completed just 56% of his passes, 164 of 294, for just under 2,000 yards. Not bad touchdown to interception ratio, 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. The year before that saw action in 10 games, 9 of them as a starter, where he threw for 2,200 yards, so a little bit more. 16 touchdowns, completing just over 60%. So, not as good last year as he was the year before. Not a threat to run the ball. 46 carries for 29 total yards and a touchdown last season. Running back could be by committee. This is where you'll see some of the new guys. Isaiah Johnson, grad student, coming in from North Texas, 5'10", 210. Played all 4 years for the Mean Green before coming out to Abilene. 37 carries last year for 229 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 games. Originally from Lubbock, played at Lubbock Cooper High School.
Yeah, he only has he's the most experienced running back on the roster that I can tell, but he only has 190 career carries over 4 years. And just for reference, Taj Brooks had 290 last season.
Yeah. The other guy that you should be looking out for is Wyoming transfer. Big dude, Jordan Vaughn, 6'3", 235. It's his second year here in West Texas. He transferred out after the 2022 season. He had 46 carries for 253 yards, 3 touchdowns, so 5.5 yards per carry. But that's a big dude, Michael.
Yeah, it's a big guy. He limited time on the field. Their 2 running backs last year. I'll be honest, I tried to find out what happened to them. I don't know if they graduated or transferred. I couldn't find enough info. But he was basically third last season on the number of carries, and so he only saw the field 5 times or in 5 games behind the 2 top running backs for ACU. But I I don't know much more about him than that. I think, like I said, Johnson is by far the most seasoned uh, running back on the team, and he's still pretty green, no pun intended, for the North Texas reference.
A couple other guys you may see. Rovon Banks is a junior. He's been at ACU all 3 of those years. Also played in 5 games last year, only 26 carries for 170 yards. Used a whole lot more in 2022. 10 games, he had 112 carries for 473. And then you could also see Sam Hicks, smaller guy, 5'9", 190, Central Michigan transfer. He's a grad student. Played wide receiver at Central Michigan back in 22. And then before that, he was at Saddleback Junior College. So maybe one of those scat back type guys that is just all over the place. Out at receiver, their leading receiver last year was Blaine Taylor. He's a grad student this year, 6'5", 215, so big dude outside. 41 catches, 620 yards, 15 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns. Excuse me. Played in the area before then at Cisco Junior College. Second guy in receptions on the team was tight end Jed Castles, 6'7", 235. It's going to be his 3rd year, so he's out there. Followed Patterson to Abilene. Had 25 catches for 241 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then other guys you should expect to see were the tech guys, which we talked about, when they had 7 guys in the roster. So be looking for Trey Cleveland, Nehemiah Martinez, Hut Graham. So do you have anything on their offensive side, Michael?
No, I mean, not
Okay.
really. I like the use of Castles. It seems like he could morph into receiver number 2 again this year, at least on receptions. And I think I saw an interview with the offensive coordinator, talked a lot about Hut Graham, and was pretty impressed with him. And I think Graham, will this be his 2nd season at ACU?
At least, yeah.
And so he did, he did see some playing time last year, but didn't really clock in as many receptions. Taylor is obviously their leading guy and someone who seems pretty dangerous. So we'll see how the tech guys can perform if McIver can get him the ball, and I think I'm sure they'll be great. You want to think that guys that made a D1 roster and played on that roster, they're going to still be really talented players. So defense has their work cut out for them for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned the offensive coordinator. We'll touch on that here. New guy coming over from Valdosta State, Rick Bowie. He led the offense there, went 12-2 last year. Was a play caller for the offense that was top 25 in both passing and rushing for Division II. They are an air raid team, but he talks about balance in the offense, not being rushing versus number of rushes versus number of carries, but number of touches, which I think is very Mike Leach-esque. They were top 10 nationally in passing yards per game and total touchdowns last year. So Expect this to be a pass happy offense. Something that you're probably used to seeing around here, but Rick Bowie is the new offensive coordinator for the Wildcats. Part of the reason why we don't have any idea about what it's going to look like. I mean, we can look at Valdosta State stats, but we know, like, if we tried to extrapolate what Kitley did at Western Kentucky to what he did at Texas Tech, it wasn't quite the same.
Yeah, and we kind of tried that, and it was, it was very different.
Yep.
Moving on to defense, I did want to just mention something too. Something else I learned. I was listening to the podcast with Choice Woodman and Chris Level, and Level mentioned that although Patterson's been there and he's obviously a defensive-minded coach and former defensive coordinator, he had not been calling the defense until this year. So even that's different. So that's even if you're watching what the defense did, the first couple seasons under Patterson as a offensive coach, if Kitley's trying to break down ACU film or something, Patterson wasn't calling those plays. So he's calling them this year, or he's calling those schemes, those defensive matchups.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's going to be just another wild card.
Well, he probably has to go back and look at tape from when he was calling plays at Tech.
Yeah, that may be one of your better resources, is to just kind of see what he did in certain situations, and if he brought pressure or not, and how he did it, if he did. And I don't know. That's just an interesting wrinkle that I learned on that podcast.
Yeah. They are returning their top 3 defenders from last season, led in tackles by linebacker Darius Moore, a senior, 5'11", 230. In terms of a leading tackler, you want it to be a linebacker. So
yeah,
that's a positive for them. I know we poked fun at teams that had a bunch of defensive backs that led the team in tackles. But second is Elijah Moffitt. These are all old dudes. Darius Moore, linebacker, is a senior. Moffitt here's a redshirt junior, 6'2", 210, safety, 75 tackles, just a couple behind, three tackles behind the leader there. With an interception and 7 pass breakups. Moore had a half sack and 6 tackles for loss. Then third, I'm gonna go with Kirby Kohili, senior, 6'4", 220, 61 tackles, 36 by himself, 8 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks and 3 interceptions. So definitely a disruptive presence there on the Wildcat defense, or at least previously. They had 18 total sacks last year, which is not a lot, but did catch 12 interceptions last year. They did allow 29 points per game and 455 yards. A lot of yards on the ground, 210, 245 through the year. Michael does think that that's a little bit low scoring when you consider that many yards. Only 29 points per game. But their defensive red zone touchdown defense, only allowing 65% touchdowns once they get in the red zone. So they were able to give up yards, but keep them out of the end zone 1 out of every 3 trips.
Yeah, and
not bad.
No, and I did some comparisons there too. Tech was just right at 50% on that same red zone touchdown defense. And then I think Tech averaged 26 points per game, but allowed 390 yards per game. So I'm still impressed with how this defense was able to apparently get stops when they needed to. Because, man, if you're allowing on average 210 yards on the ground, Tech allowed, I think, 160 last year. So I'm hoping that is green light for Taj to feast on this Saturday.
Yeah. All right. It's time to get our predictions locked in. Michael, Texas Tech, as of putting this together, is a 32.5-point favorite. Over under set at 56.5. So obviously majority of those points going in Tech's favor. I was going to pick Texas Tech obviously to win, not to cover. I think it's going to be a little bit, for me, lower scoring game with the concerns I have on the offense, and then if we're going to be trying to run the ball as much as I think we are, I was going to say something like 42-13.
Okay.
So it's a very comfortable Texas Tech win, no questions, no concerns, but an ACU cover, which wouldn't bother me.
I am going a little bit more all out here. I don't think I know that Abilene Christian played Missouri close a couple years ago and A&M close last year. Sort of close-ish.
Well, 38-10.
Yeah. But I think Tech's just going to they have to. They're going to blow the doors off of them. We've got Nathan here in the chat. 48-24 is his prediction. I'm even a little bit more. Is bullish good? Is bullish good or is it bad?
Mm-hmm.
I'm even more bullish than that. 54-17, taking the over. Texas Tech covers. Let's go.
I
Texas
think if
Tech
there's
recovers. They maybe they return a kickoff. Maybe they have a pick six. The offense may not score those 54 points. The offense may score 46 of them or something.
Yeah, I was going to say Nathan's projection there of 24 points feels like a lot for ACU, and I would have some questions if ACU is able to score that many points. He did come back and say that they had a couple of late scores. It's 48-10, and they score late. Okay, that's fine. 'Cause I think at that point you're trying to get some guys rotated in to test some things. So both. I mean, obviously it's ACU. They are retooling the offense a little bit with the offensive coordinator who was really successful his last stop. Keith Patterson laid the groundwork for positive momentum for the Texas Tech defense, but this is not going to be an issue. He comes back. Nathan does. We don't have Shuck to give them a 14-point swing. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, those hurt. Those stung.
Yeah.
And there were multiple.
Yeah, one of them to Baylor, to AJ McCarty, by the way. Don't know if you
Good.
remember that. He's now
Come
playing
full
for
circle.
So, all right, let's take a look around the Big 12. Michael, what do you say?
Yes.
Thursday, August 29th. So here we go. New Hampshire at UCF. UCF is getting 41.5 points. Lindenwood at Kansas, 43.5 points. North Dakota State at Colorado. Colorado's a slim 9.5 point favorite there. Granted, North Dakota State's a pretty good FCS program. And then Southern Utah at Utah, 37.5. So we got 4 Big 12 teams in action on Thursday. Friday night, you've got TCU at Stanford. TCU is getting just over a touchdown, 8.5 points. And then you got a bunch on Saturday. Penn State at West Virginia kicking us off at the Big Nooner on Fox. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, Cowboys only getting 10 points at home.
Yeah, I kind of want to make sure that I didn't typo that, but I think that's right.
1 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Towson at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's getting 31.5. 1:30. North Dakota at Iowa State. Cyclones getting 27.5. 2:30 FS1. Tarleton making the short trip over to Baylor. To Waco. The Wacos are getting 26.5 points, 6 p.m. kick. The rest of these going to be nighttime kicks. 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. UT Martin at Kansas State, 37.5 points, 6 p.m. UNLV at Houston. Slim here. Houston is a 1.5 point favorite over on FS1. Willie Fritz and Donovan Smith figuring things out at home. Southern Illinois at BYU. BYU is a 2-touchdown home favorite. 7 p.m. New Mexico at Arizona. I, I, I would have told you 31 would have felt like a lot, but after seeing New Mexico last week, oof. Yeah, Arizona getting 31 points at home, 9:30. We're getting into our Pac-12 after dark area already. Both Arizona schools have 9:30 kickoffs. Wyoming at Arizona State. How Arizona State is a favorite here, I have no idea. Maybe it's because they're at home, but Arizona State could be bad. 6.5 point favorites here, 9:30 on FS1. So got
I did
3 straight days of Big 12, and then Saturday you can go from 11 a.m. to probably 1 a.m. 14 hours of football on Saturday if you wanted to watch nonstop. So buckle up because here we go.
We've got a Raider Power going in the chat with Seeing Scarlet and Nathan. Thanks, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Welcome. Michael, chat, is there a game this weekend, not Texas Tech, that you'd be interested in watching? I mean,
Well,
I'll probably have a game on every day, but
yeah, I'm very I will be glued to the North Dakota State Colorado game on Thursday. The TCU Stanford game, I might tap out there. I could just read about
I'd
it.
watch it
I'll read about it in the newspaper the next day because
Saturday morning.
it's 9:30. I'm not going to stay up that long to watch the Cardinal and the Horned Frogs and in an empty stadium, and because there's just so much to do in California. There's just so much to do. So I'm not going to really waste my time on that. Saturday is wide open. I'm having trouble, maybe once we get into conference play, I think it's still going to be this way. The Big 12 is so big now. There's so many games.
16 teams.
I haven't even looked. I haven't looked at the other conferences. I don't know what any of the other matchups are because the Big 12 is kind of that interesting, and not just because we're in it. Well, okay, yeah, because we're in it. But I mean, the fact that there are just that many games, especially right now, I I'm going to be really interested in Penn State at West Virginia, South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. All the other ones I'll probably tune in here and there, but I won't be as invested because I feel like those two you really might learn something here and there. Kansas State I might watch a little bit just to see if Avery Johnson's going to run all over everybody this year. Thankfully, we don't have to play them.
Not to the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, it's very true.
It could happen.
But yeah, I guess I should look around the rest of the. I've just been kind of a Big 12 snob because there's so much. There's so much of it, man. And then it's going to get even better next week because most of these, of course, West Virginia's playing a real team, and so's TCU technically. But most of these games will, the competition will ramp up a little bit, and it'll get even more interesting in week 2 with whoever
Nathan's got you
playing.
covered. Yeah, if you're looking around the country for games to watch, Georgia, Clemson, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Minnesota. He said he's going to be watching about 6 streams at once. I mean, maybe Thursday. I don't know what the rest of the Thursday night schedule looks like. Definitely on Saturday. Just get every game that you can get on. I almost hate to admit this. I'm gonna be intentional about trying to watch more Tennessee Volunteers football
because of family.
Because of family ties.
Football's about family, Spencer.
It's not when I like to watch Auburn or Oregon. Like I picked those because they were trendy. They were fun. I mean, I could say the same for LSU, but I also have a lot of family at LSU. I had family that went to Ole Miss. I'm not rooting for them. I'm not watching them. I couldn't. I mean, even Lane Kiffin won't get me to turn on that. I just have bad taste in my mouth going all the way back to Hugh Freeze and 2008, 2009, I guess.
Oh, I didn't realize Miami goes to Florida. They go to Gainesville. Gainesville. Sorry, there's an S in there somewhere. Week.
Yeah. I think we lost Michael. Since you brought it up, let's go ahead. Let's look
right out of the
outside the Big 12 real quick. No, yeah, you're back. Welcome.
Should we? Do we have to?
Just real briefly, just to see what's out there, Michael. Just to see what's out there. Let's see.
Not a lot.
Scrolling through Thursday. Friday, Temple at Oklahoma. Elon at Duke. TCU Stanford. You want to see Tyler Shuck take on Austin P? You can do that Saturday morning.
You know, I will probably try to catch a little bit of Louisville. At least one game, just to kind of see how it's going. I think I will touch base there.
Tennessee is hosting Chattanooga on the SEC Network. Colorado State at Texas. UTEP Nebraska.
That intrigues me a little bit. Colorado State at Texas. That's not a slouch of a program coming to Austin, but I'm really trying to avoid watching Texas and OU unless it's just unavoidable.
True.
You know, I know that's petty, but I am petty, so it tracks.
Western Kentucky at Alabama. UCLA going out to Hawaii.
Oh, that's nothing for them. It's just a single flight. No big deal.
Houston Christian and SMU. Sunday is USC and LSU.
Okay, that's a good one too. Well, is that Sunday or is that? I thought there was even a game Monday.
There is. Boston College at Florida State.
Okay. Yeah, SMU. Who were they? You just said it, and I've already blanked.
Houston Christian.
Houston Christian. That one might. I don't know. That might be worth checking out. I may take a look at that one.
Seeing Scarlet asks, who is the most likely to get upset by a random in week 1?
Let's see.
Are you talking about across the board or Big 12? Because if it's Big 12, it's got to be Arizona State
or Colorado. But that's not really a random. I don't know if you, but still, it's an FCS team. I think. Oh man.
Southern Illinois at BYU.
Yeah, or Miami, Ohio, goes in and beats Northwestern. Where's Northwestern playing this year? Aren't they playing in like a?
They're playing
on a dock or something next to the lake,
like a lacrosse field, right on the lake.
Gorgeous. Big Ten football.
Yeah. So.
UTEP at Nebraska.
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, I don't know. That could be kind of a wild one. You never know. I think those would be kind of my picks. Most of them are just because that sounds sicko level fun to me.
Nathan says UCLA's traveling fans would be too busy at the beach to attend the Hawaii game.
That's true.
Giving up one beach to go to another one, but still couldn't be bothered to go to the actual game.
Yeah, I mean they're just probably what happens is they get to Hawaii and they put on all their UCLA gear and then they just smell that ocean breeze and they just walk towards it and they can't escape. There's just too much. It's just the ocean's just that it just draws you in.
Seeing Scarlett asks, they have fans? Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
We're told it's a really good. They're really worth whatever the Big Ten's paying them.
All right.
Very crucial.
With that, let's jump over to the questions, Michael. What do you say?
Okay.
All right. You're gonna have to explain this. So you dropped this link in the chat, and we'll get to any of the questions. Sorry, link in the notes here about weathergami.
Yeah,
This is
Mr.
the
Root.
anti-weathergami.
Yeah, Mr. Root dropped this on me. So you guys have seen the Twitter accounts Scoregami. This is the first time that the NFL has ever seen the score 21-22 or whatever. And so there's apparently the same thing regarding weather, but it's in relation to the high temperature and the low temperature that a certain town has seen. And so Lubbock made it today, but not for. I'm sorry that the explanation has taken so long. I'm still going. Not for a weathergami, because they didn't have a high temperature that a high low combo that they've never had before. It's the opposite. So this is an anti-weathergami, and this what happened in Lubbock today is the most common daily high low temperature combination since 1911. So this is the 108th time that Lubbock has seen a high of 95 and a low of 68. It's a beautiful day today. Just
looking at this chart,
Mr. Root sent me that and was like, "This seems like something that Michael and Spencer would be interested in." I was immediately thinking, he's absolutely correct. I don't know if anyone's still listening, but I enjoyed the hell out of that. I thought that was.
I'm looking at the outliers here, especially on the cold side.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on a second. For the date of August 26th, this goes back to as 1911. There is a low.
Oh no. That can't be. Okay, I know where you're going. I don't think that happened on this day. I think that's just all of the data for Lubbock, Texas.
Okay. That would make sense. I was looking at it, I was like,
yeah.
One, how if it's 100 and this weather high low combination occurred 108 times, but this only goes back to 1911. Okay.
Yeah. So the number of occurrences,
like, if it was on this day, it's like there's a high temperature here, like topping out at like 8 degrees. Tell me what year that happened in August 26th.
Yeah.
Okay. I was misreading that chart. That makes a heck of a lot more sense. Okay.
Nathan said he's a new weathergami guy, easy convert. Me too. I hit follow today, so I'm on board.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we get to wrap this up? What do we learn?
No, man.
Let's
go. Let's go watch some football.
What do we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
All right. I'll go first since I have two. Michael, did you see that Torchy's is shaking up their menu?
No, and you even put the link in here, and I'm clicking it live. We're doing this live.
We'll do it live.
We're doing it live.
A couple of them, they've changed the name or replaced one of the burritos, or excuse me, tacos.
Yeah.
They've updated the appetizers, so they have a they're calling it the threesome. It's a trio serving of green chili queso, guacamole, and your choice of salsa. Damn good tots smothered in queso and topped with bacon. Something else. It's a new craving, a new starter, excuse me, or side, I guess. They're rolling out breakfast tacos outside of just their Colorado locations. That I guess they were testing that in Colorado. Now they're rolling that out more widespread. So they're retiring, and you have to help me understand this. I don't know if this is all one thing or if these are all different ones. The jalapeno cheddar sausage, it's got to be different ones. The Republican and number 4 breakfast taco And the secret menu of Ace of Spades will be headed to the vault.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Ace of Spades. I do think the Republican had the jalapeno cheddar sausage on it, and they did have a breakfast taco with that on there. So it sounds like they're just retiring the jalapeno cheddar sausage altogether, and therefore the Republican and the breakfast taco are going with it.
Except for they had a taco called the Cougar. It will officially become the new Republican. So you'll still have a Democrat and a Republican on the menu, but the Republican you're used to getting will be now what was formerly known as the Cougar, which this doesn't tell me what all was on the Cougar.
Yeah, and I don't remember there being a cougar, but I'm sure there was. I haven't been in a while. That the one I liked the most was the one with like the Jamaican jerk sauce. And maybe
Brush
like
fire.
brush fire. Gosh, I love the
So
brush
good.
fire one. Usually, I always get one of those, and then I usually get the barbacoa one, or
Was that the Democrat?
maybe
that the-
so, or the pork, or the pork with like the green chili pork. I think.
Mhm.
I can't even remember what their names are. I just know that once I read the description, like, oh yeah, that's the one I like. But yeah, the
Yeah.
brush fire it's fire. That's it. That's how it works.
Okay.
So yeah, Nathan Sanders. Oh, never mind. I don't know if I want to repeat that. At first, I thought he was talking about the. Never mind. We're good.
The other thing tagged at the bottom of this are some of the secret menu items. I go back and forth on whether or not I like secret menu stuff. But there are some items on this secret menu that I would absolutely have to try. Top of the list, the Matador.
Yeah. What?
And I don't know if this is like a Texas or Lubbock one, but I'm going to read this to you. Chopped brisket, grilled jalapenos, pickled onions, grated jack cheese, fresh avocado, sour cream, and cilantro with tomatillo sauce on a crisp corn tortilla inside a flour tortilla. I would order
Yeah.
the Matador 7 days of the week.
I feel like we're missing out. Yeah, I've got to order that next. Okay, let me read the next one. So, yeah, I don't know about any of these. The third one or the second one is trailer. What do you got? Sorry.
So I was saying the trailer park is one that's on the menu.
Yes,
but you can order this a different style according to this. And it's like I've never even heard of this like as this style. So
yeah, there's this is trailer park hillbilly style, which has the same hand battered fried chicken, chorizo, chopped bacon, green chilies, green chili queso, freshly grated cheddar jack cheese, and pico de gallo with poblano sauce on a flour tortilla. So I'm not really sure.
that's a lot.
That's a lot. I
I
kind
would
of
still
thought the
eat it.
trailer park didn't it? I thought it had gravy on it.
No, it was
Am I
queso.
making that up? It's
Mhm.
queso.
It was. I believe it was like it was the chicken strip and queso.
Yeah.
Or maybe no. Sorry, the queso is if you got it trashy. The trashy
Yeah,
trailer
there was a
park
trashy one.
is adding the queso to it.
Okay.
All right, next up, green chili pork missionary style. Slow roasted pork carnitas simmered with green chilies, pickled onions, guacamole, fresh grated jack cheese, cilantro with chipotle sauce on a crisp corn tortilla inside a flour tortilla.
Man, so we got another double decker situation here. Okay. Next one is Naughty Santa. Grilled shrimp, chorizo, pickled onions, jack cheese, avocado, cilantro, and poblano sauce on a flour tortilla. Yeah, I can take or leave shrimp
I would
on
leave this one.
tacos. It's not my thing. I don't know. I'm just shrimp is not really my thing ever. It's fine if it's there. If it's fine if it's in a. I don't really like gumbo because I don't like boiled shrimp. I don't like that texture. But like fried shrimp's good. A shrimp po' boy I think I like, but it's fine. I'm just not ever really seeking it out.
And unfortunately, this last one is headed to the vault. But here's your ace of spades. It was a grilled jalapeno cheddar sausage, smoked beef brisket, fried egg, green chili queso, cotija cheese, cheddar jack cheese, sour cream, and cilantro with Diablo sauce on 2 flour tortillas.
Spencer, I believe you misspoke. That's cojita cheese.
I would have eaten that for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Right.
The fried egg probably a little much, but yeah, when in Rome.
Nathan says the Ace of Spades was their best one. I look at their tacos, I'm like, man, like that's good. I could leave that. Like the ones I like, they're all banger. They all hit. But then there are a couple of like, I'll just leave that. The Tipsy Chick, marinated grilled chicken. Yeah, I'd probably eat that. The Mofo is a vegan. Yeah, I'd leave that.
Is that the one with like the fried avocado or something?
Cowboy style Beyond Beef, topped with green chilies, grilled
Oh.
corn, pepperdew, peppers. Trailer Park fried chicken, green chilies, lettuce, pico de gallo, jack cheese, poblano. Get it trashy so you take off the lettuce and add queso. Green chili pork. There is a fried avocado, which I'd eat that. Samantha's turned me on to the avocado enchiladas at Garcia's. Those are next level. Those are way good. Baja shrimp, brush fire. There's your Jamaican jerk chicken one.
Yes.
I would always get that one. I liked to get the Democrat, the barbacoa, avocado, cotija cheese, cilantro, onions. That one's a real good one. I liked the Republican too, the jalapeno cheddar sausage, although that's going to be changing. Crossroads, smoked beef brisket, grilled onions, jalapenos.
That's in my rotation too.
Mm-hmm.
I get brush fire and then either that or the Democrat or the green chili pork typically.
Yeah. And then Mr. Orange. I mean, I got beef and chicken fajita, but then Mr. Orange, blackened salmon, corn, black bean relish.
Bearing the lead in all this is that triple dipper thing that they're doing. I really like that because I feel like Torchy's has the best chain restaurant queso in the game. I don't know if that's a polarizing statement or not, but to me, it's the best you can get. That's not from like your local place or you make it yourself or Caprock obviously has some of the best queso.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as national chains go, I think Torchy's wins.
Yeah. Their dips. So they've got green chili queso, which you can order with chips. The hillbilly style is just adding in chorizo. So you can get hillbilly queso, guac and chips, and then salsas. They've got roja, tomatillo, poblano, chipotle, avocado, or diablo. So several different layers of heat there. If they weren't like $6 a pop, I'd probably eat more Torchy's tacos, but
yeah,
they're quite expensive.
Well, that's where it kind of comes into because I'm at that I should only eat 2, but I really want 3. So usually what I do is we get chips and queso.
Oh yeah,
with the 2 tacos, and I probably demolish 75% of it. So hey, kind of on the same theme, what I wanted to talk about was your favorite topic, green chili.
Yeah, go on.
So, guy at the office, born and raised in New Mexico. He's lived in Texas, I don't know, about 10 years or so now. But he's used to just putting green chili on everything. Just has a freezer full of it, puts it on whatever he wants. And he offered me, half of what's left of his stash from last year because he was heading out this past week to get fresh green chili and, restock.
So kind of him. Instead of just like,
it was
have some fresh. You can have my old stuff. I get
no. It's still a year old and it's in the freezer.
Only.
The best thing about it is of course, peeled and all that kind of stuff, but it's also chopped already. So when you thaw the bag, you've just got a bag of chopped green chili that you can just spoon out onto whatever, into whatever. And man, we had breakfast for dinner last week, and then of course we had breakfast over the weekend. So green chili just found its way wherever. But one night last week, or for work one day, we had leftover mac and cheese from one night. We had leftover bacon from the breakfast night. And so to work the next day, I took bacon, green chili, macaroni and cheese.
Ooh, okay. Now,
Do I have your attention yet?
you do, and I've
It was so good.
I've never felt the desire more than I did this year to buy roasted green chilies. I don't know what to do with them.
I'm trying to learn too. We'll learn together because
Hey, there's a
he
microphone
just
there.
I know. I found it. I got really excited. I got animated talking about green chili.
Well, I think they're done roasting them. Unfortunately,
They are. I agree. I think that's done. But what I did. We bought some HEB salsa, and it wasn't the best. And so what I did was when I poured my little bowl of salsa for my chips, put in a big old spoonful of green chili in it and stirred that up, and that kind of
Nice.
livened it up a little bit. So I'm finding out things. He suggested potatoes of some sort. Breakfast is obviously the easiest one where you can just pile them
I
onto
know. Just throw it in
anywhere.
the taco. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then obviously burgers. Burger patties. Obviously making the green chili stew or soup or something, especially once it gets colder. Enchilada casseroles. There's or enchiladas themselves. There's queso. You don't have to go buy Rotel. Just dump a bag of that into some Velveeta and call it a day.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of green chili. I'm not sure how I'm going to use it, but I'm excited to find out. Maybe meatloaf. I
Maybe.
think that'd be good. Even and put it on the smoker on top of that. Just enhance. Just Arcot Ramathorn and enhance the whole thing. So yeah, I've just got an abundance of green chili. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really grateful that someone was just like, "Here, take all this." I will. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, like I said, I think when you buy them, like you buy by the weight, but I think you have to bring them home, you have to chop them, you have to peel them, and then you freeze them. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to feel confident to buy some, and then like I'd be the only one eating it, so I wouldn't even know how much to buy. But I'm sure like if I had them thawed and ready to go, I would probably find ways to use them. They're growing into my diet. I'm not opposed to things that have green chili in them. You were
I'm proud
talking
of you.
about putting it in mac and cheese, putting it
Mhm.
into breakfast tacos. Like that all sounds good. It's 11 o'clock, and I guess I'm hungry. That all sounded good. All
I
right,
used
last thing.
to make omelets back in the day, so that may be the next thing I try.
Yeah, it's just good with eggs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to share. I'm not a coffee drinker, Michael. But I came across this guy that does like coffee hacks, and what caught my eye was like this higher protein version of a latte style drink at Dutch Bros. So I looked into it, and I looked into Dutch Bros, and was like, well, if I were to download the app and try this drink out, I get a medium. My first medium drink is free. It's okay. So I was checking it out. Like I said, I drink soda, but there's nowhere near as much caffeine in soda as there is in coffee. I was like, oh, but I can order a decaf. Kind of defeats the point. Anyways, so I tried it out today. It's a vanilla protein latte decaf espresso, and I added in caramel, Michael, and it changed my life.
I don't understand Dutch Bros. I've been there like twice, and their menus just pictures, and I don't know
You
what
have to on the
anything
app.
costs, and I don't know what they're doing back there, and so I'm always that. Oh, y'all have a
Black
coffee? Do you have something that doesn't taste like sugar and water? But yeah, I don't. It's confused me. I've hesitated to go back, but see, even the thing you just said, I already forgot. Vanilla spice
Nope.
latte,
Vanilla
protein.
latte, and I got it iced. Got it cold. Sugar-free vanilla, sugar-free caramel, decaf espresso. So it was as sissy as a coffee order as you could ever get. I don't think it's I'm not a coffee drinker. But man, I probably won't ever do it again because without the medium drink for free, I think the small was $5. Like, oh my gosh, people pay this much for drinks. It's ridiculous.
I listened to a really interesting podcast about that founder, and he started it from a cart in front of a grocery store. I think as a teenager, he was really young, and it was a very interesting story. It was a really, I don't want to call it rags to riches, but someone who grinded, coffee, good pun. Someone who really grinded and started out making espresso and making sure that espresso was kind of the main feature of everything, and then obviously branched out to all the crazy stuff they're doing now. But yeah, I'd go back. I love coffee. I'm good with it in any form or fashion. I have had we did learn this too. So I'm very basic, and I've talked about last week how excited I am about pumpkin spice lattes. I absolutely get one every year, at least one. They have pumpkin spice iced. They have like a cold brew with that cold foam at Starbucks. And yeah, I had one of those, and it was 102 degrees outside, but because it was iced, didn't phase me, bro. It's good to go. Still got the good flavor, got the pumpkin spice nutmeg whatever thing they put on top of the foam.
Yeah. If you're looking for
Delicious.
something like that at Dutch Bros, they have a caramel pumpkin brulee brev. Pumpkin and salted caramel, soft top, just like their foam, pumpkin drizzle, and raw sugar sprinkles.
Yeah, that sounds dynamite. That might get me to go back, because I know I can just say, I want that thing. I want that one. As opposed to, can y'all make me a latte? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, but if you do it on the app, you can like just like at Starbucks, you can dial in everything, number of shots. You want it half sweet, full sweet, sugar free, all that kind of stuff.
Just go to town.
Yeah. All right. 100 minutes of us. That'll do it for us in 23 Personnel Podcast. Week 1 preview. ACU, Michael and I pick and deck to win handily, comfortably. Can't wait for the season to start. Full slate of games starting Thursday for all of us degenerates who will spend all weekend on the couch watching college football. That's where you'll find us. We'll be back Saturday for our instant reaction. For Michael and Spencer, catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.